What is up, everybody?
Oh my God, Doug's back.
Trenches. I am back from vacation. I'm also sicker than a monster truck doing a wheelie. So it's very possible that I will be on mute for part of this episode while I hack a lung out. If that happens, feel free to laugh at me, but also I won't be able to respond. So nothing I can do about it.
Just do me a favor and keep both lungs in the body. We'll be okay.
I can't promise that.
No promises. I had to do that last week though, so I wouldn't be too like don't sweat it too much.
Oh, I'm sweating. That's no stopping that. But we have week 4 of college football to review. Unfortunately, I will freely admit, on Saturday I was flying home from vacation, so I didn't see like any of these live. The only exception to that is the first half of Ole Miss Alabama I watched in a bar in the Minneapolis airport, and that's about all I got.
That was an ugly first half of football.
But I recorded almost everything. And so I watched a whole lot of football and didn't sleep last night. And there's a reason why my sickness has not gotten better. So
you suck all that snot back up into your head.
Let's go, baby. That's what college football is all about. I'm going to mute for a second.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about it. My schedule's kind of goofy, but I did get to watch some of the later games live and parts of several other games live. In particular, one that I know, Doug, you're awfully excited about. I got to see the last drive of that game. I was like, man, this is the end of the game. Like, I better pull it up on my phone so we can see what's going on here.
I landed at home, pulled up my phone like right as soon as we were allowed to, looked at the ESPN app, and I saw the game track show us go across the goal line that last play, like right when we landed. So it was a.
Did you scare everybody on the plane?
I had none of the heartache leading up to it, and I had the pure, just awesome. We won. That feels good. Beat a top 10 team on the road. Everything's correct in the world. And a lot of changes to the top 25 this week, but we're not looking at those ranking changes just yet. We're talking about the games themselves in this episode because we all made a bunch of picks for how, like, I don't know, a good 20 of these we're going to go. And we'll see how we did.
I'm going to be here testing how I sound because my internet just struggled through that entire monologue.
That's cool. That's good.
Is it, okay, so we sound good for now? All right.
No, not really, but it's all right. You were cutting out when you said that.
Everyone thinks they need to. Yeah, everyone thinks they need to do homework, so everyone's on the internet right now.
Sounds all right.
I mean, maybe you need to do homework too. Maybe that's the real answer. I don't know.
No, Ben can confirm that. I absolutely do not.
Man,
there's like one paper I need to do at this point.
Technique only. I don't even remember doing a paper, if I'm being honest. Let's go back over the rules for our pick'ems here. This is how we kind of talk about our games. We like to make it a competition. No, I guess we don't have to. The only thing that's really
rules every week. If you want to see them, watch this live on Twitch with us, and you can actually pause on that too, or find this episode on YouTube. Look at the screen right now. The rules are on the screen, but we talk about them every week. So, I mean, and if you haven't caught on by now, then
we can't help you.
Fair enough.
But I remember last episode there appeared to be a math problem that has since been resolved. It was actually not a math problem. It was a typo on my part from a couple weeks ago, and it's since been resolved. So Tug and Bug were tied at the top, 51 wins apiece, except Tug had that bonus point from, I don't know, like week 2 or something at this point. It's been a minute. So
it was week 1 I actually had that bonus point.
Okay. All right. So Tug's clinging onto the lead for dear life. Bug is going to win. That's how this works. And I might catch up in the regular season. That is usually how this works as well. And it appears to be following the script, same as always. So that's good.
I swear it's not scripted. We do not script this out.
Tug will come in last at the end of this. I will lose by like 3 games, and Bug will have
In
made up all that ground in bowl season.
Yeah, but
It's just amazing that I'm not in last place
season.
yet.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not in last place yet. That's the amazing part in this.
Well, let's see if we can fix that.
Right. We'll see after this week. Starting us off with the ranked versus ranked matchups. Of course, right now we're still using AP and the Stats Perform Top 25 polls, which means we had a bunch of great ranked matchups this week. Starting us off, Mercer at Furman. The Southern Conference is wild right now. Furman is probably the only team performing as we all expected them to.
Yeah, for real.
And they put a hurting on Mercer.
Yeah, they absolutely did.
I was really hoping the Bears would rise to the occasion here and put together a complete game, but it seems like all of their issues that they've been having all season really, really bared themselves, no pun intended, against Furman in this one.
You gotta own that. You cannot say no pun intended.
What
you have to just take this ride. That was too good.
There's something about these Bears teams, man. They're just not living up to expectations this year.
Yeah, you gotta stop picking the Bears for anything. Next up, Rhode Island at Villanova. I tried to go with the Rams. They seemed pretty impressive earlier, but Villanova, I was shocked at this result. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Bug, you called it for the home field advantage, and apparently that was way more of a real thing than I expected down in Villanova. This is what I get for going with the hometown team.
Well, and part of it too is I thought Rhode Island had been playing outside of themselves a little bit as well. And if they were going to get exposed, it was going to be against another ranked opponent on the road.
No, that's fair. Talk about exposure.
Yeah, who was surprised by this, though? Show of hands? Anybody? No?
Nobody on this podcast, tell you that.
Yeah, so I called it out. The Colorado team is still very one-dimensional offensively. They don't really have a great defense. That being said, I expected this game to be bad, not this bad. I do expect next weekend to be a lot closer just because neither team has defense.
That is probably partially true.
USC just gave up 28 to Arizona State.
I'm not disagreeing that Colorado will be able to score more points than this. I'm just thinking that USC's offense might actually still be more high-powered than Oregon's.
I'm still taking USC.
It might end up being like a 77-35 game, where this was 42-8. That's so maybe the same, but in like it's a scale. It'll land somewhere.
It depends where the spread is for me, but depending on the spread, I might take Colorado against the spread. But for our pick'em, there's no way I'm not taking SC this week.
I think the bigger thing
Colorado against anything next week.
Yeah, I think the bigger thing you got to look at too is everybody. There's a lot of people that don't like Deion Sanders for whatever reason. Take your pick. He kind of gives people a lot. I'm not saying that he doesn't, but what gets me is when you look at this. You look at this team like this week and next week. Probably have these as losses pretty much everywhere around the country. Everybody's got these as a loss, these 2 weeks as a loss. If you really want to start trashing Deion Sanders, you got to wait until 2 to 3 weeks after this USC game to see how his team recovers, because these are going to be the toughest games of the season for him by a long shot.
Yep.
I'm curious how it's going to work out, because that Colorado State game, they were able to win off of emotion, but at the same time, they let a lot of that get in the way, and that's why that game was so close to begin with. The only other thing that I'll add here is all the Shedeur Sanders Heisman talk can finally end. I'm not saying he's not a good player, and I'm not saying that he didn't have a major part in them coming back and winning that game against CSU, but it's done. There's no conversation to be had anymore.
It's not, though, because the Heisman is very much a popularity contest. And Shedeur Sanders is still very popular and will be throughout the season.
There's zero shot he has any real chance of getting the Heisman.
So
there are 4 quarterbacks ahead of him in the Heisman race in his own
that's valid.
conference.
Yes. I'm just I am that down on what the award actually is that because he's got the name, I expect him to somehow be in there.
This isn't the
Like, I hate to say
MVP in
that.
the NFL.
It
Like, this
basically
is,
is.
but it's
No,
not. You have to have the stats to back it up too. And even if you want to go in the NFL, talk about the NFL real quick, it still was number 1 or number 2 who's getting the award, and it was like margin, thin margins between 1 and 2.
And sorry,
You're
side
right.
note
It's
here.
a quarterback award, but you're not correct in that it's only about the most click-driven name. That you do still have to have stats.
So,
And
side note. I was going to say,
Go
side
ahead.
note, completely off topic. Ben, you were bringing up how this is about how they recover. I'm looking at this at Colorado's schedule, and I see 3 more games that they win this year. I do think they hit bowl eligibility with it, but I think they beat Arizona State. I think they beat Stanford, and I think they beat Arizona. I think the rest of those are going to be L's. So it's going to be a tough ride, but I do see them at 6-6 based on what I had seen this year.
well,
I don't
and so
even know if I'm willing to give them those 3. I think Arizona State's going to be a toss-up. At Tempe is never easy for any Pac-12 team.
It's
It has
not,
never
but
been.
But Arizona State has looked like absolute garbage all year.
Okay, but they were with USC for 3 entire quarters of that game.
yeah,
Wow.
we turned it off.
I'm just saying, Colorado's
No.
not USC.
No,
And
no,
for
I
Arizona State to
agree.
do Arizona State things, it's very possible. It's also very possible the Pac-12 is nuts every fucking year, and Stanford might beat them 42-0 as well. I mean, that's very realistic. I think there are toss-ups: Arizona State, UCLA, Arizona. The only issue is it's at Arizona State and at UCLA.
At
So
Arizona. Oh, no. Is it home versus Arizona?
it's home for Arizona.
All right. Thank
But
God.
the Wildcats have been a scrappy team so far this year.
Yep. I was going to say the Wildcats were the one I
Pac-12
wasn't as confident in.
This is the best the Pac-12 has ever been. It's the last year of the Pac-12. It's brutal.
What a way to go out.
Pac-2, man. Pac-2.
And they're probably about to have a back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner out of the conference as well. So,
No, denied. We cannot happen. Will not.
You don't think you don't want Caleb Williams to win it back-to-back?
No. Because
Archie Griffin
Archie
is the only Heisman winner in the trophy's history
For now.
So the only other player that's allowed to get back-to-back Heismans must play for Ohio State.
Exactly.
Last but not least, we're sticking with the Pac-2, the Tupac. UCLA went to Utah, and this was a much closer game. We just talked about UCLA taking on Colorado. I'm very interested for if Colorado is going to be able to compete in that one with the way UCLA hung with Utah in this one.
Man,
a couple of really important points before I let you loose here, Tug.
Yep.
First of all, if we're going to call them the Tupac already, go ahead and call both of these back-to-back Big 10, Big 12 battles. And Big 10 is 1-1 in these 2 matchups. Also, Utah has yet to play their QB1, QB2, number 1 defensive end, number 2 defensive end, number 3 defensive end. One of their offensive tackles is out, and one of their wide receivers is out. They're also missing a defensive back, your usual starters for this team, and they are undefeated against UCLA, Florida, fucking Baylor. I mean, they have one of the strongest schedules anybody could have imagined for Utah. They're playing 4th string quarterbacks out here, and they're beating everybody with an insane defense and an offense who moves when they feel like it. This Utah team ought to be terrifying to everyone in the country.
In the final season of the Pac-12, do we see a Pac-12 national champion? Because early in the season, it's definitely trending that direction.
It's definitely trending that direction. And, man, I'm glad you spoke before me because I had assumed Cam Rising played in this game because even in the pregame leading up to it, everything was pointing that direction. So,
right.
No, you're right. Utah is scary when he comes back. It might take a week or 2 for him to get back into rhythm to really see it, but Utah is scary once he gets back.
And this is a pretty good UCLA team. They were ranked for a reason. Like there is a lot of talent here with UCLA, even though they did lose a couple of pieces to the draft. You got to realize this is a Chip Kelly team that has been building for several years at this point.
It's actually
they're
starting to
solid.
look like a Chip Kelly team, like a good Chip Kelly team.
The only thing they're missing yet is the explosive plays on offense, which will come as the young guys develop. They're starting a couple of true freshmen. But this Utah defense is also terrifyingly good. And right now, the most impressive performances of the weekend that we've covered so far, Oregon, for sure, has got to be up there.
Yep.
Also, one that we aren't going to talk about because they didn't play a ranked opponent, but oh my gosh, Washington looks like potentially the best team in the country. Like, the Pac-12 is fucking great this season.
There's your Heisman frontrunner, in my opinion, at this point in the season, is Michael Penix. Plays for Washington, not Washington State. I fixed my. I can't move the slide. I can't even respond to that.
You're welcome. Next up, Ole Miss at Alabama. This is also considered a rivalry by both schools, but it's a ranked versus ranked matchup. So we're talking about it here. And Ole Miss beat them in the first half. It didn't last.
No, so I was at this game, and I got to say that Brian Denny did not disappoint. It was a different feeling, and you could see it right out of halftime. Alabama came out, and they played like they got their ass chewed at halftime, which I'm sure they did. And it finally started to, throughout that second half, look like the Alabama we expected. They got things moving on the ground. Jalen Milroe started getting some time. And everyone's saying that Jalen Milroe is the problem, obviously has not been looking at that offensive line, because that has been the problem. That was what changed in that second half. That's why Alabama wins this game.
I honestly don't know if I would be able to play football better with a bite taken out of my ass.
Dude, it puts you into a new gear. Like, I'm just telling you. And I didn't say bite taken out. They just chewed a little bit, made it a little sore.
This show's wild.
Look, hey, I will eat the loss. I will eat the loss on this one for the next result. I like the next result.
Well, next result is number 4 Sacramento State headed to number 7 Idaho, and the Vandals took care of business.
Yeah,
I have to say, all right, Tug, you took Idaho before I got in and make my picks, and then I came in and was like, yes, I need to stake claim to Sacramento State, because I actually thought that Bug was going to take Idaho. And that's why I took Sacramento State. It was like anti-skunk philosophy.
Look, I'm pretty sure. Hold on, I'm pretty sure if you pick before Bugger Eye, we're going to default in the FCS matchup unless we definitively know the team. Doug went this way. I'll go that way.
The best player in this matchup was always going to be Idaho receiver Hayden Hatton, and he played like it for sure. And if I need to go into these FCS ranked versus ranked matchups like legitimately and not trying to anti-skunk myself, because I know that you guys don't know what you're talking about. So I'm just gonna.
I went with Sacramento State because they were ranked higher, but I was nervous about it. I like Tug taking Idaho because they were the home team, because they do have such a great home field advantage with that stadium. I was very nervous about this game.
So, Doug, I'll be honest. I took Idaho because I heard the praise you were giving them in our previews, and that actually sold me. I'm almost full in on Idaho this year, especially with the way the rest of the Big Sky has been looking. Outside of Montana State, even Montana had a very bad loss this week. I don't know if very bad's the correct word, but they had a bad loss.
It is very bad. Montana does not deserve to be in the top 25, and they dropped out of it, even though they were number 13. So
yeah. So I want you to know I do listen to you, and I was very happy taking Idaho, and your analysis did not disappoint.
No, Idaho. This is the same Idaho team that beat Nevada 33-6. Like, this is a damn good FCS school right now, and they have a really terrifying offense. And the Big Sky ought to be scared. Probably everybody except for Montana State. We'll get to them in a minute. Next up, New Hampshire at Delaware. I did not expect Delaware to put up that much of a fight and actually come out on top, 29-25. Holy smokes. Where'd that come from?
I was looking at this. New Hampshire just had a dogfight last week too, and then having to go on the road to Delaware. I thought the Blue Hens might have a little bit going in their direction, and it seems like it was just enough to help them get the win here.
Yeah,
That's-
almost an even matchup, except for the home field advantage, basically, with that final score line. I just went for the best player in this one, which I assumed was going to be Dylan Loeb. We've heaped a lot of praise on him already in the FCS coverage on this show for New Hampshire, but sometimes it takes the whole team.
So Doug, that analysis that didn't let me down previously, it let me down this time.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, you didn't listen to me when I talked about the Pac-12 because I have been on the Washington State train for fucking
you have been on the
3
Cam
years.
Ward train.
Actually, that is a great time to bring this up. I've been on the Cam Ward train since he was number 7 at Incarnate Word. I had to prove it. Cam Ward is my guy. He is also the most underrated Heisman candidate in the entire race. He just threw touchdowns, no picks on the best pass defense in the West with the Mississippi.
I made first picks this entire week minus the Alabama Ole Miss because I debated it for so long. I'm not going to sit here and say this was an anti-skunk pick. I was actually confident in the Beavers, and frankly, it was a good game. This was maybe they scored. Washington State did have a handle on it, but Oregon State tried to come back in this one.
Oh, Oregon State fought back with a vengeance. Yeah. 21-3 fourth quarter for Oregon State.
Yeah.
Just did not have enough in this one.
Just did not have enough time. You got to hate it when that clock runs out, man. Meanwhile, every team in Colorado is hoping it ended earlier the last couple days.
And you know who else was hoping the clock ended sooner was Notre Dame.
Oh, my God.
I wasn't even mad that Ohio State won this game, honestly. Like, I'm not a big Notre Dame fan. I care a little bit about the picks here, but I wasn't upset about this at all.
You just mischaracterized your intense hatred for Notre Dame. I'm not even a Notre Dame fan. No, you hate them.
I do. I hate Notre Dame fans mostly.
I hate Notre Dame. Fuck the Fighting Irish. They suck every year. They're overrated as hell. And they don't deserve to be on the fucking field. That's what I say. And we beat them by 3 on the road. Suck yourselves, Notre Dame.
With time expiring, they beat them on the road.
The
only thing that would have been more wild is if the kick had been blocked and Notre Dame returned it and it was a tie game and went to overtime.
Yep.
I'm not even kidding. When Ohio State got the ball, all I could think was, I have this gut feeling this is going to be one of those games where where Ohio State's going to run 2 plays and score, Notre Dame's going to come back out, score, and then Ohio State's going to have the ball again to score. That didn't happen, but what happened was almost as good. They reviewed that play way too long, in my opinion. I was like, man, that
was a clear touchdown on this.
The review wasn't. Yeah, I was gonna say the review wasn't for the touchdown. The review was for the time on the clock. But even all of that, take all that into account. Don't care. This is an instant classic game. This is one that when you talk about a 2-minute drive, this was it. This is the epitome of a 2-minute drive. Now, ideally, you maybe want to take up all the time and not take 15 plays to do it. But the fact that you could run 15 plays in 85 seconds of game clock is absolutely insane. And
I was actually going to fight you. It's not an ultimate 2-minute drive. It's an ultimate 1-minute-and-25-second drive.
Yeah. They were talking about it. I know it didn't have that big flashy play that everyone's looking for from the quarterback. This was Kyle McCord's coming out party.
Oh, yeah.
That is a confidence builder of a drive, and whoever plays Ohio State next week, I would be scared.
It's the Fighting Buys of Open Date University next week for Ohio State. Looking forward to that one.
Good. That's even worse for whoever they play the week after. Also, this team is pissed. They're tired of being disrespected, and that was obvious. This is going to be scary moving forward.
Look, Sam Hartman was our guy when he was at Wake Forest. Now he's on the wrong side of everything, and so we don't like him as much. Maybe that's.
I still love him.
I was going to say, also looking fantastic this year.
Oh yeah,
He
great
looks like
beard.
he's gonna be in a Hallmark movie as the the guy that never left home that the girl comes home and falls back in love with. Which that's not the joke I was making. I just said he looked like a fucking movie star, and then I saw people were making that same joke except throwing the Hallmark movie star in there. I was like, yeah, that's right.
It's
that's
accurate.
that's more
That's
on the money than
absolutely
what I
accurate. Oh man, he played great actually, and it just wasn't enough because Ohio State's more physical at the line of scrimmage. Maybe it helps that Notre Dame didn't have all the defensive linemen in the game that they wanted to, but it's it is what it is.
Any given Sunday, you got to play with what you're given, man. I see Iowa is definitively making a good effort at that 25 points per game. So they scored 41 last week. So they had to even it out this week because it was way too close to getting where it needed to be, huh?
Yeah, speaking of which, I have something for us here.
Oh, we're going to it. Yes.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. This is
not
only
doing
going to
well.
get worse. I don't know who else they score on at this point.
Yeah.
I would say they're not going to score on top 10 teams, which
Michigan, Ohio State.
They don't play those, so
okay, good. That's
out.
Good start.
I would bet they're going to score some points against like Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wisconsin. So they're probably going to be okay, actually. But yeah, we all picked Penn State in this one for obvious reasons. 31-0, though. I did not expect, actually.
Why was Iowa ranked?
Because their defense is so damn good all the time.
Their defense is good,
and they win so many games.
Not that good.
Well,
on the strength of that defense, because it's not the offense. Yeah, clearly not good in this one.
Another team that was defense did not look good as Weber State.
I really like the shutout surprises me.
Looked real good.
You get shut out at home, man.
Montana State Bobcats 40-0 over number 10 Weber State. To say there's a gap between the top 3 FCS schools and the rest of them is probably a bit of an understatement at this point in the season. We're looking at South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Montana State, and then the field.
Everybody else, like the field.
That is.
I am. This was a conference matchup as well, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm very curious how the Missouri Valley is going to fare against North Dakota State and South Dakota State because
the Missouri Valley, I think, is a lot tighter in terms of talent at the middle of the pack.
So you say that, but the Weber State was number 10 in the country.
No. So hear me out here. I just think Montana State is that far ahead of the rest of the Big Sky, whereas I do think the matchups in the Missouri Valley are a lot closer. In other words, I'm saying Montana State should probably be the number 1 in the country right now.
Well, they're definitely not going to unseat South Dakota State, and people were really pissed when people had them voting Montana State as number 2 over North Dakota State. So
evidence.
I know. Right. If I were putting in a ballot, I would have South Dakota State, Montana State, and then we'll see. That's the rest of the top 25. Who the fuck knows?
And Doug, I'm sorry, I cut off your joke earlier, but shall we push to the next slide to show what your joke about not having all the D linemen was?
Oh, it was always the next slide. We're fine.
I know. All right.
No, it's so this is Notre Dame with the last 2 plays of the game. They only had 10 players on the field. And Marcus Freeman came out today and admitted that he had no idea. And that's just a brutal way to go.
So
didn't Ohio State have 12 players on the field at one point in this one too, or am I getting my games mixed up? I was watching this the same time as the Memphis game, and somebody got called for 12 men on the field or an illegal substitution.
It wasn't in this scenario, but here's what blows my mind. Here's what you don't see with that 3-second mark. Because this is right before the last play. Mm-hmm. Notre Dame had just called their last timeout. So not only did they go out with 10 players on the play before, not only did they cause the incompletion, they called a timeout. and then sent 10 players back out on the field. Who needs the 11th man? Not like he would have, sat there at the right side of their defensive line, right where Ohio State ran the football. But,
yeah.
What do I know?
It's clearly a defensive end that's missing too.
Yeah. Dude, it's obvious.
And we still barely got it. So that's great.
Literally ball on the line. Like, you need the nose of the ball, and that ball was laterally on the line. Like,
yeah.
Oh, good stuff. So there's nothing else to say. I mean, that's just wow.
College football, college football, man. Wild.
Man.
It
will go down as one of the greatest finishes to a top 10 matchup ever.
Yeah.
And up there with other top 10 finishes involving Notre Dame, such as the Bush Push and other games that Notre Dame lost because fuck them, they lose all the time.
I feel
also one of the best finishes to a top 10 matchup involving Notre Dame was that time that Alabama beat them like 718-0 in the national championship because they didn't fucking deserve to be there in 2012.
Yeah. Okay, so we're on the same page. I said it from the beginning. I was like, Notre Dame doesn't deserve to be in this fucking game. They're going to get demolished. And everybody's like, no, they won't. It's cold. Alabama can't play in the cold. I'm like, fuck off. Yeah. Alabama's going to kick their fucking asses. And they did. Not quite as much hate in that one as there are in some of these rivalries, though. And we do have a very weird one to start. It's SMU taking on TCU in the Iron Skillet. And, we all went TCU, and it worked out well for us.
The Horned Frogs, baby.
They're back.
Like, TCU's just a better team right now. And SMU has been trying to find themselves after losing Tanner Mordecai and, was it Rashee Rice from last year?
Good job.
Hey, thanks. TCU doesn't have a good defense, but they have a defense that can handle that. That's what happened. Like, let's just be real.
Also, this is a Power 5 team versus a team who bought their way into the Power 5.
No, they buy their way. They bought their way, and they're going to take none of the benefits of being a Power 5 next year. Congrats.
For the next 9 years. It's a 9-year pay cut for them.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
It's great stuff. Florida State Clemson went to overtime. Oh, my goodness. What a game that was.
I can't believe this took overtime, though.
I know. We all picked Florida State thinking that Clemson just didn't have it this year.
The skunk. I thought this was the skunk.
And then
I'd have been fine with it.
Me too, honestly. Would have been a fun one to get skunked on.
For Clemson to be back and skunk us on it. I mean, in fairness, I'm surprised none of us wanted to take Clemson at home.
I got real close. I'm not going to lie. Like, you guys keep giving me shit for being a hater. But, like, I had seen the way Florida State looked last week against Boston College. I got real close.
Yeah, but you didn't, so therefore you still are a hater.
Hold on. I make up for that in later picks.
I'll be the hater here.
God, what a rare slide. Holy shit.
Yeah, I'll be the hater here. This was bullshit. This game's dumb. I hate that it's a rivalry. This game shouldn't exist.
Be a rivalry.
It shouldn't exist.
This is
it's one of those rivalries because they both used to be terrible in the SEC East, and like this was the battle to see who was the worst and who was the second worst in the division. But then Kentucky's actually not that bad right now. Crazily enough, North Carolina, Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky are all combined 16-0 in football at the moment.
All football schools.
Confirmed.
Also, Villanova is really good at football.
Also a football school. I don't understand what the problem is.
And Xavier's about to get football back.
And Alabama's going to be one of the top-ranked basketball teams in the country going into the season, too.
Yeah, wait, they were really good last year. They were a number 1 seed, weren't they?
Yeah, they were a 1 seed in the tournament. That is a fact.
And Texas is back in basketball. That's what we need to start saying.
Good. Man, can the Pigs stop letting me down by 3 points?
No, apparently not.
Let's be real. We were kind of dumb taking 2 rivalry matchups, taking the road team. Like, the home team was going to get one of these. I'm not counting Kentucky Vanderbilt. Forget about that one. But when ranked opponents were involved, right?
But Bug, you and I have a very clear weakness, and it is if the pigs are on the slide, we have a propensity to pick the
Trust
pigs.
me, I wanted to, but
I know you did.
I couldn't.
I thought Brian
knew...
Kelly couldn't win a big matchup. Hey, I'm wrong.
Oh, that's just Notre Dame.
Ooh.
LSU has won something before, haven't they? With Brian Kelly, didn't they win something last year?
They lost their big game opener, embarrassingly so.
Right, I knew that, and then they didn't.
Brian Kelly's
right.
not been it.
But
they did beat Alabama last year. That was it. They beat Alabama last year in overtime.
Yeah. This
And
one
they
did
got
not take overtime. Field goal in regulation, 34-31.
As time expired to break our hearts.
The Golden Boot resides in Louisiana another year.
Boo.
Shame. Pity.
For shame.
And now for our games of the week. We each pick 3 every week. It's a good time. Starts off, Bug.
Yeah, as is well documented, Tug loves senior military academies. So to finish my annoyance of him, I had to take Texas A&M hosting Auburn, and A&M would win this one 27-10. If only Tug would have taken A&M and just admitted how much he loves senior military academies, I think he would have gotten a clean sweep on this slide.
What was Jimbo Fisher doing on the field in the middle of that one play?
You know,
like he didn't pull Mike Tomlin. He didn't trip the guy. Like he was out of the way, but he was on the field.
He was in position to make the tackle.
He really was.
Really, it's a problem he didn't make the tackle. Let's be real.
So again, I picked this game because I expected this to be a game of not so much Auburn winning as much as I expected to be Texas A&M beating themselves because they like to do that. And they did try for a good bit to beat themselves, so it didn't look too bad for me there for a bit.
Next up,
you forgot that Auburn's coach is Hugh Freeze, who also likes to beat himself off. So
yeah, but the last time
they well got documented,
right?
But the last time they got
into great.
The last time Auburn got into a beat-off competition, they beat Cal.
Which is great when they just fired their last coach for, he hanging out with the intern too much. Yeah. Anyway.
Different vices.
That's getting beat off. That's a different problem.
Anyway, UTSA went to Knoxville to take on number 23 Tennessee, and I foolishly thought UTSA just has not been showing us who they are so far this season. This was going to be a rebound
who we
for
thought
them.
They were.
In the words of the late, great Dennis Green, they are who we thought they were. They are not good, and it's kind of depressing.
Yeah, and Tug and I picked Tennessee because we're not retards.
Dumb. Oh.
However, we all fucked up this one.
Dude, what is going on with SEMO?
The slide has begun. Losing the SIU game is derailing their season, and Eastern Kentucky finally remembered how to play football. I mentioned that I was nervous in this one. And I kind of regret not taking Eastern Kentucky, but they've just not looked good until they played a ranked opponent at home.
Well, you got to consider this. So Eastern Kentucky was 0-3, looking to avoid their first 0-4 start since 1978. This is uncharted territory for the Colonels. They also lost in week 1, they lost to Cincinnati, who's a Power 5 school now, and has an offense that can score quickly. Not against better defenses, but against FCS competition, they can score very quickly. And that's something Eastern Kentucky just can't keep up with. That was never a matchup Eastern Kentucky was going to win. The next week, they play the University of Kentucky, who we've established as a football school now, and is 4-0 for a good reason. They can out-physical an FCS school like Eastern Kentucky. So the only other game that we really had to go off of for Eastern Kentucky, I mean, Western Carolina came out of nowhere and is good.
Yeah.
And they beat them 27-24 who would have thought the Catamounts were going to be good this year? There's no way to tell that until they come out, beat Eastern Kentucky 27-24, and then turn around and do to Charleston Southern what nobody thought was going to happen, considering what Charleston Southern did to Clemson and to William and Mary. Like, Western Carolina's good. So that was a 3-point game. This was also a 3-point game, but in the Colonel's favor. Why I didn't go with Eastern Kentucky here, I'm a little bit ashamed of, because we gave Parker McKinney the All-American slot on our FCS team at quarterback, and I lost my faith in him for some reason after he lost 3 games that we knew he was going to lose.
We didn't know they'd lose to
Western Carolina, but still.
But I looked at it too. Like I went through and I was like, man, there's part of me that's like, SEMO's going to rebound here. But Eastern Kentucky, like, they're pretty down too. They weren't able to get it done against Western Carolina. And I'm pretty sure that game was at home too. I'd have to go back and look. So I was like, I don't know what's going to happen here. I'm going to go with SEMO because they played really well, but it looks like yet again they can't close out a game.
Yep. All right.
Wild.
Well, hold on. Go back.
Insane.
Doug, what are your thoughts? Where are the good games on this slide?
SEMO Eastern Kentucky was a fantastic game. That's the only one.
That's kind of what I was thinking too. Absolutely fantastic game.
That's all I needed.
We'll keep you at the 0 there, bud.
Yep. All right. My games of the week. Sacred Heart at St. Francis to start us off. Sacred Heart did win this one 37-34, and I messed up when I put my logo on this slide, and I'm going to own the loss because it's my mistake. I legitimately intended to take Sacred Heart.
Before we started last week, there was a random Sacred Heart logo like right next to my face. I was like, why is this still here?
I think me on my phone and trying to do stuff and on like the hotel computer in Alaska, it all got goofed and I messed this one up. I'll eat the loss, but I absolutely intended to take Sacred Heart because of Malik Grant at running back. And who won this game for Sacred Heart? It's Malik fucking Grant. So that's on me and having internet problems.
Oh, no.
This game was so good.
I really like this slide so far.
Right. And you'll continue to
like it. I really like this slide so
this
far.
Game was not good. And here's my mistake here is I went for Rice at USF because of the meme quality of hashtag Beatrice. Instead of going with my gut, which said Western Kentucky and Troy was going to be the much better game. And that was a field goal game.
It was. Yeah.
It was awesome. And I should have gone with that one. But I went for the meme quality.
I did like your logic of picking this game, though, because both of these teams have done much better than we all expected.
That is true.
But we did hashtag Beatrice this week.
And I'll say, too, for Rice to come out as cold, we'll say, as they did, was surprising. Like, I get that USF rather, they just played.
Rice came out cold and dry.
Yeah. They just.
Oh, God. No.
They just played Alabama. They played them really well, and Alabama's a better team than Houston to begin with. But I thought Rice having that win last week under their belt was going to elevate them a little bit more, whereas USF, even after playing a great game, they're going to be on their heels a little bit coming off a loss. That was not the case. USF just kept playing like they were playing Alabama, and Rice is not Alabama, so this is the result.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with the Bulls, but also not the game I should have gone for.
I thought it was going to be a good game too. I'm not going to lie to you. I do think that while Houston's not involved in this one, this does kind of show how fucking bad Houston is. And who should really be surprised? It's going to be 2 or 3. It's going to be 2 or 3 years before they're good again.
I got bit by that.
That's the Houston cycle. Next up, in my games, Albany at Morgan State. This was another matchup of teams who had overperformed to this point for my expectations coming into the year. And we all picked Albany. I was surprised to see that when it happened.
I've been burned by Albany twice in this already. Yep. I wasn't doing it again.
Yep.
Fair enough.
Same here.
I expected somebody to go with Morgan State,
Nope.
but I wasn't going to do it. So I guess that's where we were all at. And Reese Poffenbarger delivered yet
What a
again.
name.
In
S-tier
double
name.
overtime, 23-17, Albany pulls out to win. The Great Danes are having a hell of a season so far. And Morgan State does look decent, but it is just they are this close to being a good team, and Albany is like this close from being a bad team. So that's where you get matchups like this. And just Albany came out a little bit ahead. But double overtime. What a fun game to watch. I'm so glad I got to catch this one. Obviously, after the fact, like I said, I was flying on Saturday, but
Hashtag Beatrice. No, I saw it.
hashtag Beatrice.
I love how they got a thing of cooked rice for this one, by the way. Just hit the slide. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beatrice.
I don't know why they're calling for
Exclamation mark.
Beatrice.
They forgot the hashtag there.
Somebody needs to tell their marketing department that spaces are okay.
Not in hashtags, but
Right.
You could do hashtag beat, hashtag rice.
No.
Hashtag Beatrice. You've got at least, I think you've got two good games here.
I say two good games. I've got the first one, the Sacred Heart at St. Francis and Albany at Morgan State. I'll just default any game that goes to overtime. Good game.
I can
Generally
most
speaking,
of the time get behind
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
There we go.
I
I'll take
can't
that
think
bonus
of
point.
Yeah. I can't think of one time that in my immediate head that
Illinois,
overtime
Penn
game was
State.
That game was awesome, for the record.
The overtime.
The correct answer is that Virginia Tech game where they pan to the sidelines, end of regulation at 0-0. You see Frank Beamer like, yes!
I wanted overtime.
Oh, man.
All right,
Frank
let's
Beamer.
bring it to mine. All right, Appalachian State at Wyoming. Look, I was very interested. This is two honestly, really good group of 5 teams this year. I hate Wyoming. Y'all know this, but I had to pick Wyoming at home. Appalachian State, that's still a big elevation change for them. And actually, that's exactly what happened in this game. Appalachian State was leading the entire game, and then they just got gassed at the end.
And I can very much attest to the elevation changes affecting you. I was in Denali National Park and got winded stepping out of the truck to take pictures. That's
So the Cowboys take this one. It's a little bittersweet for me, but I'll take the dub here.
Yeah, Appalachian State was the better team, and fucking home field advantage, unlike any other.
That's what happens in Laramie, man.
Yep. All right, Sam Houston State at Houston. Look, Sam Houston State, I was giving a nod to their defense here personally, and Houston has looked like utter garbage. They kind of fixed that. They did not look like utter garbage, and Sam Houston looks like their linebackers were lost this week because that is pretty much everything I've seen out of them that's been really good this year. They're the only team to hold Air Force to under 200 rushing yards in a game.
Sam Houston State looked like a team that's making the jump from the FCS to the FBS in this one.
Weird.
I think
Correct.
I think in 2 years this will be a competitive matchup, but right now it's just not there.
Like I said,
actually no, because in 2 years Houston will be good again for another 2 years.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. My bad.
But again, I was thinking Sam Houston State's defense could have helped them stay in this game. Houston's offense has looked absolutely atrocious this year on every level. That's where I was bringing this game down to. That is not what happened. This was an ugly game. I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys you can't give me this game unless you both override me for some reason, but I don't think you're going to.
Hell no.
I don't know why you'd even bring it up. I thought that was a foregone conclusion.
Eastern Washington at UC Davis. Doug, you're a big fan of the Big Sky this year, and I'm getting there with you. I picked late games because I know you like watching those late games, so I gave you something to do when you got home. Eastern Washington has been a pleasant surprise all year. UC Davis is also a really good team. I was going to take the hot hand here, not that UC Davis has been losing, but Eastern Washington has been playing like you referenced with Rhode Island earlier, Ben, maybe a little outside themselves. And I expected that to continue this week. They did. They pulled out the upset over number 15 UC Davis. And actually, I think both of these teams, are they still ranked? They should both still be ranked because Eastern Washington was right on the cusp last week.
I know
Eastern Washington's number 19.
Now.
Yep. And UC Davis is number 21.
There you go. That's actually why I was leaning towards that, is I was picking that because I was like, this should be a ranked matchup.
Yeah. Legitimately, I picked UC Davis because they were the home team in this one. Only reason. And
it went through my
mind. I did that this week, and it bit me in the ass.
You.
So I just got to go with like what I actually think. That should be my game plan. Probably might work for me. Who knows?
Yep. I think Tug got another bonus point here, though, too, as we've already mentioned for some reason, unneedingly, that Sam Houston State and Houston was not a good game, but the other two were. So looks like y'all both have two bonus points apiece now. Meanwhile, I'm still riding solely on the strength of my picks.
Doug, this is where you and I are going to make a big difference in our records over Bug.
And you say it's a big difference, but we're all separated by one single point in the actual overalls. The bonus points are the only things making that separation.
No, but that's where you and I need them. You and I need the bonus points.
So with the bonus points, you're sitting at a very nice 69. So
nice.
That's cool.
Nice.
I'm at 68.
Picking everything wrong the rest of the season.
And then Bug is at 65. Gotta say, pretty solid week for all of us, honestly. Our best week as a podcast. Appreciate it, boys.
I still think, we're all pushing that 67% pick rate, which is honestly a little insane right now.
And we need to start gambling. That's what this means.
Nope, that's not what this means. Nope.
If it was legal in Missouri, I probably would have put a couple doubloons down on a couple games.
You put money on this shit, and all of a sudden my mind goes to hell, and I can't make a pick.
But wait, there's more.
There's more. Got to start with not only are Kansas, North Carolina, Duke, and Kentucky all 4-0. So is Georgia State for. I don't know when the last time they've been 4-0 is. Might be the first time ever. I actually don't know that. But they received a singular vote in the coaches poll this week. It's their first vote in the coaches poll in school history. Very excited for the Georgia State Panthers. Good stuff. Love to see it.
That's huge.
But also there were some awesome games that we didn't end up talking about. I want to start with Boise State at San Diego State simply because this was a field goal game. Great game. But also the win here means that Boise State now has a winning record against every other school in the Mountain West. They were tied with San Diego State overall in Mountain West play, and now they have the lead over San Diego State. They are the best team in the Mountain West's history for that, just definitively, period, dot.
Can we ask why Indiana needed 4 overtimes to beat Akron? What the fuck are they doing over there?
Because the MAC has beaten a Big Ten school every year for the last 4 years, and Indiana broke the trend. Let's go, Indiana.
But why did you need 4 overtimes? Jesus Christ.
Because they don't have Michael Penix anymore. That's why. He's in Washington.
He's
looking like the best quarterback in the country.
Really, that's what it comes down to. We already talked about Western Kentucky and Troy being a fantastic game down in Alabama. And Memphis, Missouri.
Western Kentucky with that one, by the way. So almost happy that I didn't take it.
Memphis and Missouri playing in the Dome at the America Center in St. Louis. This game ended up being a lot better than I thought it would. There was one point where Mizzou was up 2 scores, and I was like, if they score here, I'm done. Memphis was able to get the stop. And really, it came down to Mizzou had a couple long explosive plays that Memphis was unable to provide. And Memphis shot themselves in the foot more times than once, really. They had a pick in the red zone. They had a couple holding penalties that really pushed them back, put them in 3rd and long situations versus 3rd and manageable. I'm really impressed with Memphis in this one. If this team had played against Navy, I would have thought that they had a chance against Missouri, and I would have expected this, but this was a pleasant surprise. I got to tell you, I'm gonna take it right now before we even put our picks in for next week. I'm taking the Memphis Boise game because I'm very, very excited to see that game now.
That's gonna be a really good game.
Oh
Yeah, I have no idea which way I'll pick, but I definitely want that to be one of my games next week. So getting ahead of it.
I do want to say I heard you guys when I was out on vacation that you were surprised I picked Rutgers over Virginia Tech when I did. The reason I did that is because I realize Virginia Tech and Virginia both suck ass. Now that there are other FBS schools in the state of Virginia, James Madison is better. Liberty is better than both of those. And Old Dominion ain't that far behind. So there are too many FBS schools in the state of Virginia for UVA and VET to keep up. And Marshall proved that yet again at Marshall, a 7-point game for the Thundering Herd.
And look, the other team in West Virginia won too over Texas Tech.
I was going to say, is West Virginia good this year?
That's why I put this on here. Texas Tech is surprising me for the wrong reasons. West Virginia is surprising me for the right reasons so far this season. Maybe not firing Neil Brown was the right decision, actually. We'll find out. We have a lot of football left to be played. Who knows?
What is it? Is it panic time for Minnesota yet?
Yes.
Probably. Especially considering this. Northwestern put up 21 unanswered in the fourth quarter to send it to overtime. And then won in overtime. Unreal.
I mean, in fairness, the grass was probably long. It probably played a factor here. You know, it tires you out faster.
The grass was too long to row the boat in. That's what happened.
PJ Fleck
doesn't Northwestern play on turf now too? Isn't that the best part? Am I wrong?
No, they don't. They play on grass,
okay.
And they grow it long still.
I know. I know that was a thing. I didn't know if they had changed it yet.
No,
I know they've got the stadium plans. I didn't know if they changed the turf yet.
PJ Fleck might be looking for a new job at the end of the season if this keeps going the way it is.
Probably.
New Mexico State at Hawaii. The nightcap was phenomenal. Hawaii ends up winning on a time expiring field goal, 20-17. Unfortunately, our beloved Jerry Kill is not performing as well as we had hoped so far this season, but also very fun to watch. So there's at least that.
They've been in all
very
of them.
entertaining games, yeah.
And then FCS games this week: Cornell over Yale. Yale starting 0-2 on the year, and Yale was the team we thought was the team to beat in the Ivy League. Very fascinating here. Bryant over Princeton in overtime too.
I like that.
Didn't expect anything out of Bryant this year.
No, give the Bulldogs some love though.
What's going on in Charleston, Illinois? Because Eastern Illinois is
dude, I'm loving it.
Well
Who's their quarterback? Who's the next NFL quarterback coming out of Eastern Illinois?
Yeah, Romy Tomono is the new walk-on freshman. No, Eastern Illinois is wild, out of nowhere, legitimately winning games this year. I don't know if they're legitimately good or not, but they're legitimately winning games. Something we couldn't say about them before. So,
just saying, I picked him last week. Nobody believed me.
I still don't believe it, but it happened.
Doug, why did you do this? I don't know, man.
Then Northern Arizona knocking off Montana after losing to Utah Tech last week.
Wild.
Oh, yeah. And not even like a one-score happenstance wild turn of events.
Doubled them up.
28-14. Like legit beating of the Grizzlies here. The Lumberjacks are not as bad as everybody thought they were, and Montana is worse than everybody thought they were. Literally everybody. Oh my gosh, they're the worst 3-1 team of all time.
And you thought Western Carolina had done some damage. You thought that the Dolphins put the hurt on the Broncos. That's nothing compared to what Western Carolina did to Charleston Southern.
It actually is. It's one more touchdown and one less point.
Stop it.
No,
it is nothing compared to what Western Carolina did to Charleston Southern. It is nothing.
You don't.
The Dolphins are nothing. The Dolphins are nothing. Nada.
You don't see the NFL.
The Western Carolina
starters.
Catamounts. The Western Carolina Catamounts are phenomenal this season.
No, I'm not denying that. I'm just sitting there going, you don't see what we saw this weekend. On all
Go back
accounts.
to that slide
on
a second,
both
though. I
accounts.
do want to talk about this because we gotta legitimately think about how wild the Southern Conference is this year. Because VMI also just beat Wofford 17-14. There is one team atop the SoCon this year. It is not Samford at the moment. It is Chattanooga, who we thought was going to be a middle-of-the-road team in the SoCon. Then there are three teams tied for second place in the SoCon right now. VMI, Western Carolina, and Furman. The only team we thought was going to be up there was Furman. Western Carolina, VMI, and Chattanooga are just good somehow.
I would say Western Carolina is more than good.
Western Carolina looks like one of the best teams in the country. They beat Samford 30-7. And Samford's a team that everybody thought was going to be good this year. They were phenomenal last year and returning who most people thought was the FCS All-American quarterback in Michael Hires. And we didn't put him there for what looks like a good reason now. But also Western Carolina beat the shit out of them. Charleston Southern is not a bad team. I mean, they took William and Mary to the distance last week easily. It was 15-7 final score for the Tribe at William and Mary. I mean, Charleston Southern was in. They had the lead on Clemson in the second quarter. They were still in it in the third quarter at Clemson. Like, oh my gosh, the Catamounts are. I don't even know what to say. Like, this is unreal out of Western Carolina so far this season. I have no idea how far it's going to go, but this is like fascinating to me.
Absolutely.
Wow, the SoCon is a wild place this year. That's where we're at.
Let's move on. Let's move into the future. April 25th through 27th in Detroit, and let's see who Detroit Rock City, baby. Let's see who we got. We're looking at who's going to get drafted this year. Potentially.
Probably not Devin Leary.
Yeah. No. His numbers were not great going into this. He had almost tied he had 3 interceptions already compared to 4 all season last year. And
so here's the reason why I had him on, and I wish I were able to speak to why I had him listed here, but I remember what he did in 2021 with NC State and just how damn good that offense ran with Devin Leary at the helm.
Oh, yeah.
And how efficient that offense was and how physical it was and how good Devin Leary looked, how comfortable he looked throwing the football. Now he's at Kentucky replacing second-round quarterback Will Levis, the same system that potentially could get him into the second-round conversation. Who knows? Right? It's that same scheme still, the same pieces around him. Let's see if we can see those traits and see a competitive quarterback looking comfortable in a pro-style offense with a very physical team around him. Maybe not the best route-running team or whatever, but if you can play quarterback well, it's going to show anyway, right? The way Will Levis did. And we just aren't seeing the same guy. What I am concerned happened is that the injury that knocked him out in 2022 is lingering and probably will affect him going forward. Just he's not going to be the same football player is what I expect has happened here, because Devin Leary used to look like a quarterback I could have seen going in the first round when he was a true junior, probably a redshirt sophomore. Like, it's heartbreaking how far he's fallen off after how good he looked a few years ago. But
on the plus side, after being injured last year with the COVID rule, with other rules, he could play his 7th year in college. I mean, why not?
Right.
Definitely. he needs to improve this year, and he needs to have a good year next year, and then get that 7th year to be able to really, improve his stock. And we got
And
guys
then
trying to get 9 years.
Get into the combined XFL, USFL, whatever that's going to be called.
Man,
for
don't
like 3 years, and then he can be a practice squad quarterback for the Bears, probably.
The Facebook groups are ridiculous. Yeah, hopefully they just fucking put in Tyson Bagent. That's a different discussion.
I would love to see it, honestly.
I would love to see it too.
I mean, if you're not going to use the guy right, yeah, just change quarterback.
And defensive side of the ball, I went with one of those linebackers for Sam Houston that we have been talking about. Trevor Williams was the team MVP this year, I think, third-time captain coming into the season, all around recognized as the heart and soul of this defense. And he racked up 11 tackles. It looked like he was about the only one who knew where to be on the field at times this game against Houston, which is good for him, not good for Sam Houston. That's why Houston beat them by a lot. But this is one of the, I believe, 3 linebackers that Sam Houston redshirted in their senior season in 2022 so that they could play their first year in the FBS together. And it's really awesome to see. I love that story. Mostly wanted to pick Trevor Williams for that storyline. But also he actually individually played pretty well against Houston, I thought, watching him. I don't know if that'll actually help his NFL draft stock coming in as a 5'9", 210-pound linebacker.
Can we?
But if we can see a hybrid pass coverage, maybe in the box, kind of a safety role, there could be a position for him somewhere. Needs to work on his pass coverage if he wants to do that. But
can we talk about how consistent he is across the board at tackling between solo and assists? Like, he's almost dead even the entire time.
He's on the ball. That's always a good thing from a linebacker. I figured the redshirt storyline was part of why you took him here. And yeah, I love it too. Sticking with the program that you helped elevate to that point that you won a national championship with. I love that he did that. Were they ineligible for the playoffs or for the conference or something last year?
They were ineligible for everything last year because they were allowed to go over the scholarship limit for the FCS. So
that's right.
There's legitimate reason for it when you're still in the FCS going up. When you're already FBS, though, that's when it starts.
Like, they're not eligible for anything this year. Not that they were going for anything this year, but they're definitely ineligible this year.
Well, yeah, they're also 0-3 or something. So, yeah. And this ain't a James Madison story, but Trevor Williams is a fun football player. And if nothing else, maybe we'll get to see him on the Houston Roughnecks and will be one of my favorite players in that league.
Fair.
Whatever it ends up being called.
Right. I'm all right with that.
It's so interesting, and I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about it, but the rumors and the speculation on the multiple different groups and things that I'm in is just off the wall. The USFL deleted their Discord entirely, which I think they should have done before the season even started this year. If you remember all the drama that was going on with that. From a quick summary that I think is accurate, it's not going to be 16 teams. They're going to cut it down to 12. And it would appear that any team that has a set stadium deal is safe. Memphis, Birmingham, and then likely Canton from the USFL, not Pittsburgh or who was the other team they hosted? I don't even remember. Detroit potentially. So you've got 4 that are pretty solid already in the USFL. From the XFL, the only team that's looking to move is Vegas. It looks like they're probably out. I'm curious to see how everything is going to shake out past that. And that's where things are going to get interesting. It's a great opportunity for a lot of these players, FCS level or lower end FBS players. It's something to keep an eye on. It's something we'll probably bring up at least, something like this at the end of the episodes going forward, because we like talking about it and we like doing that in the off season.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm excited to see what happens to it for sure.
It's going to be real fun.
It's been the most fun pro football I've seen in a long time. So,
and I think St. Louis is secure. There's there's a lot of other conversations that just going into the XFL side. There's a lot of other conversations. A lot of USFL fans are not super high on the idea of keeping any real association with the XFL. But the fact of the matter is the XFL rules, in my opinion, are 100% more fun than the USFL rules. I do kind of like how the USFL still has the 1 point kick, but they do have a 2 and I believe a 3 point option.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's kind of
has a deal with the NFL, don't they? A very loose.
Yes, but the USFL has the Fox money.
Right.
There's
I understand what's coming in there, but what I'm saying is the NFL's partnership with it was to test rules out. So what I would expect is exactly what you were just leading into. You keep the USFL TV money, but you keep the XFL rules.
Yeah,
and you keep all of those partnerships in place. That is a true merger that is beneficial for both sides.
And I think it's great that we're actually seeing that versus, eminent domain and let's dominate one versus the other, right?
Well, neither of them were that much ahead of the other to be able to just no.
The USFL made money this year. That's a big deal.
But was it that much money? Like that's the thing is you would need
it's more than the XFL losing money.
Right.
Yeah.
$1 is more than negative $100.
I understand the USFL did better. That's not what I'm saying. That was not the point.
Well,
right, and that's where a lot of people are. That's where a lot of people are at too. They're like, look, why should the XFL get to keep anything? They're losing money. It's like, well, they're in year 1 versus year 2, and they had stadium deals with every team versus stadium deals for half the league. So let's take it out of here, though.
Yeah,
Tug, you got some links for us.
All right, yeah, I got some links. They'll be linked in the description below. As always, we have patreon.com/btfootball, facebook.com/btfootball, x.com/bdtfootball, instagram.com/bt_football, bdtfootball.com, mailbox at bdtfootball.com, youtube.com/@bigdudesinthetrenches, twitch.tv/bigdudesinthetrenches, all one word. Guys, follow our friends over at the Fanatics Network. It'll be a good time. Follow us on Discord as well. We'll have that link in the description below. We do not have access. I'm not reading that link out. I'm sorry. It's brutal.
I've done it before, and it was
good for
time,
you. Go ahead. I would.
No, it's your domain. I ain't taking.
Yeah, all right then. This is how we're gonna do it.
Hey, why should you never trust stairs?
They always let you down.
Because they're always up to something.
Oh my God! All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is all the time we have on the show today. That is all the time we have in the show today. Thank you for watching and/or listening. And just remember, you can't win a game if you can't win in the trenches.